Welcome to Owen and Brew's Barbecue. Today, Nick and I are cooking up something special all the way from Ord Mantell. We're talking Mantell Mix, those little popcorn nuggets. And just like the Mantell Mix, we're going to talk about 3 episodes of Bad Batch tonight. My name's Matt. I'm joined with the one and only Nick.
14 credits for some Mantell Mix. That's kind of steep, man.
Steep. Yeah. Like, what do you think? Is that kettle corn? You know, it's like
it looked like kettle corn, yeah.
You know, like a little caramel. I mean, I could see why, like, that's their jam, you know, and if that's the only joy that they're getting in life, but they're spending a lot of money.
A lot of money, yeah. And then you know, of course, you don't know what it is. You don't know how hard or like how well it tastes. But like when she pulled it out of her pocket in that last episode, where she's like, "We completed the mission. Can't break tradition." And I'm like, it kind of reminded me of Ferris Bueller at the end there where she pulled the gummy bear, you know, like, it's in my pocket. And I'm like, don't eat it, Records, don't eat it. Like,
he's been through some stuff. He definitely hate it. Well, we're talking about three episodes. It's not that we didn't want to talk about them. It's just timing, both Nick and myself, and I don't know, the other 2 guys that sometimes appear on the show.
I haven't watched an episode in forever. Like, well, I guess you're not doing a podcast then, are you?
So we're talking about Rampage, Scattered. No, that's not Scattered. What's the second one called?
Decommissioned. That's
right. And then Battle Scars. Yes. So those are the 3 episodes that we're talking about. Let's kind of go right through the mix here and just start with the first one that we missed there, which was Rampage, which was not about the 80s video game. I kept expecting the werewolf.
Disappointed.
Yeah, it's like, but the real monster though was.
Oh, skipping to the end.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's fine.
What else is there to talk about? Rampage. They get their first mission, and you know,
I totally called what it was going to be though. It was just too much of a because you see Fortuna, you know, in the hologram before. It's one of the great things, and also sometimes a curse is that when you have the closed captioning on.
Yes,
because it said like Hatice is being spoken right now, and you're like,
oh, yeah.
What is that? Okay, and then and so you kind of like as soon as they get there and it's a little kid, and they mistakenly think, oh, it's a little girl. You're like, that's not gonna be, you know.
Nope. I think also too, like the little you know, thumbnail of the episode showed a Rancor in it too.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah. So that was kind of what spoiled me, because it would have been a little bit more, you know, of a surprise. Matthew Wood, who reprised the role of Bib Fortuna in The Mandalorian, and also played Bib Fortuna in episode 1, he does the voice. So keeping in that continuity.
Nice.
So that's the only note that I have.
Let's see here.
We've
if you want to go through a little bit of notes here, you know, Omega coming off of the last episode where she got lost and almost kidnapped by Fennec. You know, she gets her own little communication device.
Yep, it's like she's slowly turning into a clone.
A clone, yeah, crosshair.
A trooper.
Yeah, it's just funny how like they're all kind of like different dad figures to her, because like the way I look at it, of course, she doesn't really bond with Tech or Echo much, but like right now, like Wrecker's kind of like her big brother, whereas then Hunter is like her dad.
Yeah,
you know, like they're definitely that thing there.
It's it's like Kanan and Zeb.
Yeah,
you know, like you could see how they're filling in that role there. But you know, and who knows? Maybe Texas, like, I don't know how to talk to girls.
He's so technical.
Yeah.
It's like I think it's in the next episode, you know, where Sid, you know, sends him on a mission, and she's like, "Do you guys know what a whatever is?" And he's like, "It's a." And she's like, "This is my meeting." You're like, shut up when I'm talking. You know.
Her voice is so recognizable that it's like it almost kind of takes over me seeing it as just a female Transdoshan. Sid's character, voiced by Rhea Perlman. Every time I hear her voice, I'm always like, oh, I'm in Cheers.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Like I can I saw a funny meme that had the Cheers bar, and it had all 3 characters that have appeared from Cheers in the bar. So, of course, it had Woody behind the bar as
right.
Beckett. It has Beckett behind the bar. It had Sid as the waitress, and then it had what's up?
Yeah, Ratcliffe.
Ratcliffe. Yeah, I was trying to remember his name. I wanted to say Ratzenberg. Yeah, Cliff. Mm-hmm. Cliff Clayton. Yeah, in his snow gear, sitting there.
Everybody to their stations. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, did you know that that's not his voice?
That's not his voice. Yeah, it's so weird.
Which is why I never recognized it as him.
Because it's a very nasal, voice, but you only hear his actual voice one time. I think in the movie, and it's still no word from Solo or Skywalker. I think it's the only time you actually hear his actual voice.
Okay. Yeah, I knew there was a moment where you do kind of hear it, but other than that, it's all dubbed.
Which I don't know why he would overdub for that one line to someone else. But it's the same thing as like in Return of the Jedi. There actually is a female A-wing pilot.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
but they overdub the yell when she crashes into the bridge of the Star Destroyer with the male voice, and you're like, well, why'd you do that? It's like it's kind of strange.
Well. Yeah. So, remind me again when she also picks up the weapon. Omega gets her very own weapon. That's at the end of this episode. Okay, is that at the end of Rampage, or
it's the end of it? So you see her at the end of she catches that it's like a web gun. They're using in this one, but in the next episode she has the bowcaster kind of. Bolt thing. So it's the different weapon.
Because that's how the next one starts. I did not rewatch Rampage. Like of the ones, I was like, I'm not gonna really rewatch that one.
I was actually pleasantly surprised because I was gonna rewatch that one today as well, and I already had my notes written out for it from weeks ago. I was like, I don't have to rewatch it now.
I'm done. Yeah. My job is done here.
But this is the first thing of note, though, for this episode to me, because we've been theorizing for a while now about Omega. Is she just a regular clone like the Bad Batch, and that she has some enhanced powers, or is she some kind of clone? Yes, but does she have some kind of Force ability also implanted in her from maybe Palpatine?
Mm-hmm.
And this one was. There's 2 things in these 3 episodes that made me go, this is really plausible now that she could have Force powers.
Okay.
The first one is when they're looking for Sid here. And, of course, they come downstairs, the Bad Batch does, and so we're looking for Sid. She's like, never heard of him. I don't know who you're talking about. Move on. And she just looks like playing with some kind of technology, but she's looking at Sid like she's kind of like reading her mind or getting some kind of feeling from her. And then walks up and very boldly, like, you're Sid. And so to me, that was like, it wasn't like a curiosity. It was just more like, you're Sid. And so that's what made me think is like, did her thoughts betray her to where Omega picked it up and was like, you're Sid. So that was because we've already seen her. We've already seen her take, the blaster. And
the shot.
So like there's definitely some little Easter eggs there where she could be Force sensitive.
And they may be burying that until the end of the season.
Yeah,
that might be the ultimate reveal at the end of the season. So, or maybe they're burying it as far as they can. It's odd because they, each episode almost is a little slow at times and like letting things develop, or it's taking its time, which, that's fine. It just can kind of feel like, okay, let's get there. like I think we're anxious to get to more development, and we haven't seen Crosshair yet, so there's a little bit of that.
Not in a while,
I liked the episode of Rampage. It also set up the they kind of were literally hitting us over the head with the fact that Wrecker was going to lose it at some point.
Oh yeah,
it was.
As soon as they get this job, from Sid, like he's automatically like, starts. You know, and you're like,
it's like a sword of Damocles that hangs over like 3 episodes, really. You know, maybe 4. Like you're just kind of like, okay, is he gonna lose it?
It's gonna happen. Yeah. Of course, you know, the next episode is when you really go, okay, yeah, now we know for sure. Not when he actually turns, but like, you know, when he actually hits his head hard, and then he actually says, you know,
he says he says the line. So that's in Decommissioned.
Decommissioned, yeah.
Yes. So I actually enjoyed the Decommissioned episode a little bit more than Rampage, simply because we get Trace and Rafa. You know, and Omega seems to be in on the mission this time. Like she's kind of in the action with them, and you're seeing this connective thread. I mean, where it's connecting back to Clone Wars, you know, and not that they have to bring in female characters to get female audience, you know, interest involved, but since my daughter watches everything Star Wars with us, it's like as soon as Rafa and Trace, you know, like she hears their like for her this was
we're gonna get Ahsoka at some point.
Exactly. It was just like a jackpot. Like she's like in Vegas and it's like bing bing, and then she's waiting for that next episode, Battle Scars, to be like, we're getting Ahsoka, and it was like bong.
Right.
Like, she was like, oh,
I didn't think it was gonna happen. The end of that episode for sure, when you just see the robes, you thought, that's going to be one of 2 people.
Right.
And I was leaning towards Ahsoka, but then it made more sense for it to be Rex. Yeah.
But here's the other thing, though, that we could still get Ahsoka, or the fact that they've given us a little bit of an Ahsoka Easter egg, and the fact that droid that is with Rafa and Trace in their ship at the end was R7A7. And that droid had appeared with Ahsoka in Clone War episodes. So little Easter egg. So, you know, that droid's been known to be around Ahsoka in the past. Now, you know, what's to say that, I mean, it's a little sketchy as to, because we know exactly how Clone Wars ends with Rex and Ahsoka going their separate ways. You know, they're like Fleetwood Mac, you know?
Yeah, but like, that's what made me think, especially, I mean, we're skipping around a bit, but this last episode, before Rex leaves the Bad Batch, you know, you see him, he's talking to someone on his comm link, and that's who I assumed it was Ahsoka, because I assume that's what she has done, is that now that she is joined with the rebellion, or at least the beginnings of the rebellion, is that she's probably hired Rex to train, you know, any kind of soldiers, to have an army, and which is why Rex asks them, like, with you guys' skills, you have a really valuable.
I'm curious as to if they do bring in Ahsoka. I would suspect that it would be in a limited capacity, just like they did with Rex. Yeah. But you know, just like the Mandalorian, where they popped in key characters that eventually come together, you know, form a battle plan or what have you, or, you know, are part of the larger climax of the season. You know, you could almost see that could be a thread that could be pulled, you know, that we could see Ahsoka appear. But the one thing that gives me pause is just the Ahsoka novel. Are they gonna just steamroll over that and just be like, nope?
Seems like they're steamrolling over it.
I would hate that, just because the book is pretty good. Like it's and the book sets up, and they could still pull it in because there's enough time frame in here, but the book is kind of like Ahsoka does go her own way, and basically her and Rex have no communication. They're kind of on their own, doing their own thing, you know. And even when we meet Rex, he's basically gone off on his own and is just like gone fishing, right? Like he's just like, I'm gonna be a hermit. So maybe something goes down. Maybe,
I assume, because I mean, you see them there in Rebels. Because I mean, how, if we're gonna get to that point, how is that going to happen to where, you know, Rex all of a sudden, you know, now is Fat Rex,
right,
Fat Old Rex with Wolf and I always forget the other commander's name. But, you know, how does he meet up with them? And, you know, and of course, they're leading a solitary life, you know, so at some point they just go like, you know what, we've had our war. We're done.
Yeah, right. And I mean, that could be the loss of, a crew or something meaningful that kind of sets them like, that's it. I can't. I mean, I felt that was that moment at the end of Clone Wars between Ahsoka and Rex. Like that was that moment. Like we've seen some shit. We're out. Peace. Like, but this gives pause because we even see Rex's ship that he leaves. He say that ship that's parked there looks like the same ship that he left in when they parted ways at the end of Clone Wars.
It hadn't been that long, so
no, it hadn't been that long, but it looks like about the same style of ship there. So it's like that kind of early Y-wing prototype style design. Like is it an A-wing? Is it a Y-wing? We don't know. So I did like that we got Trace and Rafa again. It kind of, I mean, we were kind of really down on them, in that storyline. And I still, when you rewatch Clone Wars, there's an episode where I'm just like, nope, never again. I've watched it twice and that's it.
Yeah, like, I mean, the Bad Batch 4 episodes, they're not all, really the first one and the last one is really all you need. I mean, you might also need to see the third one just for them to rescue Echo, but like the middle two are kind of okay, we get the point,
right?
But the Ahsoka ones really were pointless. I mean, other than just to show where she had been, and then the last few minutes of just introducing the Mandalorian bit there. That's really the only necessary part. Is just to be like, oh,
so I mean, was the last season of Clone Wars really just a prequel to the Bad Batch? Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like is that what we're getting? Is like, well, these are all of the characters, and we're going to put them in this other show and just make a new stew with those same characters. So if that's the case, I would almost guess that there's a couple figures that play a key role from the last season of Clone Wars, Ahsoka and Vader. So, and I'm not saying that we're going to see them together, because that has to wait until Rebels. But you could see them individually, because I still think we've seen Tarkin. It would be cool to see Tarkin with Vader, see some of that early interaction, or maybe even Vader. Like Crosshair could see Vader.
Oh yeah, that's very true.
And and they can wait to play that card.
I think it'll be a later season if it happens.
Right.
But yeah.
If it happens, I mean, for anybody out there that is still kind of like boo hiss on Bad Batch, or this is going too slow, I would just say that well, I mean, there might be some people out there that just
there's people out there like, oh god, it's so slow, but like
right. But
every Filoni series is slow.
Every Filoni series is slow. I would say that I know some of the people that were involved with Resistance are also involved with this, and Resistance really spreads it out. You know what I mean? So the fact that Resistance was a 20-episode season, and personally, there's probably like 4 episodes I would point to that I'd say, yeah, watch those.
Yeah.
But that first season is so long and drawn out, and I love the characters that they develop. I love the aliens, the storylines, not so much. So, and I know Filoni didn't have as much to do with Resistance. So, but I don't think that he's going to let this, go to rot. I would think that this is basically setting up all of the pieces, and then
I like that he was named creative director. I think now, wasn't he?
Yeah,
and so that. Of course, I would like for him to be president of Lucasfilms, but I'll take what I can get, and so that will give him at least some power to say, like, these are the arcs we want to do,
Well, and I mean, I almost don't want him to be president because of I want him to be able to do what he does,
right?
Like let some other higher up make those hard decisions and have the target.
It's just like it's things like. A good 50%, I would say, of Star Wars fans do not like the sequel trilogies. But yet they keep kind of hammering on them because I think it's in a new comic book series that just got released. Like they're bringing Holdor back, or
Oh, Haldo.
Haldo. You know, it's like no one cares.
There's
like,
there's a series coming out with her.
Yeah, it was like I just read something about it yesterday. That it was like,
okay.
she's in, you know, before Last Jedi, but like, you know, they're putting in like a backstory for her. I'm like, that doesn't sell me on it though. I'm like, I don't care, you know.
Well, she does appear in one of the Leia books, so and they establish kind of like their relationship in that. I'm trying to remember the current line right now in the Star Wars saga is they've introduced this whole War of the Bounty Hunters. Like that's their big. That's kind of. And then this storyline of War of the Bounty Hunters is taking place both in the main Star Wars line, which right now in the current comic line, for anybody out there that cares, in the current comic line, they are in the time period between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and they're in that chase to get to Han Solo. They're trying to get Han Solo and Carbonite. Meanwhile, Boba Fett is trying to get the Han Solo to Jabba, right? But of course, along the way, he's going to run into trouble. And so thus they've kind of set up this War of the Bounty Hunters storyline, which, you know, I mean, they've dove into this area before in the past. I know with, you know, stories like Tales of the Bounty Hunters, you know, basically once Boba Fett gets Han Solo, like in Carbonite, they're after him, you know, the other... He's got a target on his back. So in the Darth Vader comic series, they're also in the same timeline, and they're also diving into War of the Bounty Hunter. And then War of the Bounty Hunter is its own comic series. So it's kind of like their large tentpole storyline that they're doing probably for the next, I don't know, several months really. So because the War of the Bounty Hunter series, I assume is a limited series, you know, like 6 or 7, or, you know, I don't think it's an ongoing 12-issue, you know, or more cycle.
Speaking of just Return of the Jedi, and back to the point of this episode.
What? No, the point is we're going to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, yeah,
comics
with Bad Batch. Yeah. So the Rancor that they rescue was called Muchi.
Yeah, Muchi.
And you know it's a female Rancor, because it's just the plain tan skin, and which is also the same female Rancor that was in Return of the Jedi, which it made a lot of people really go, "Oh my God, you named the Rancor that Luke killed!" And there was like almost immediate reaction from Lucasfilm about this, going like, "Oh, it's not the same Rancor that Luke kills," and you're like, "Oh, okay,
huh?
Why can't it not be?" You know, like,
well, I mean, the only reason why I would think that they would leave that open is so. I mean, to me, that's what I thought. I immediately thought, like, oh,
Luke killed Muchi.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
But in the and of course, like some of this is legends. So, but in the legends, Tales of Jabba's Palace, like they have a whole backstory as to who finds the Rancor. It's like crash landed somewhere, and then like the guy like brings it to Jabba, and it's like, oh, mighty Jabba, here you go. You know, all of that stuff. So there's a whole other backstory.
Yeah.
But yes, Muchi won our hearts and minds over. If you thought Baby Grogu was cute, Baby Yoda, I should say, you know, you're gonna love Baby Rancors. So they have a whole plush line that's coming out, hundreds of dolls, I assume.
Yeah.
Have you seen how many Baby Yodas are on the shelves nowadays? There's like 12
ridiculous,
to 15 different styles.
I got my one. I'm good. You know?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I am. Although, actually, I think I just do have.
I mean, it would be cool. I mean, the thing is that, you know, to me they're a gimmick, and that you know, I think it's cool that you have ones that are kind of motorized and all that, but just the plain Jane push doll that we got. That's all I need. I'm like, I'm good.
Right.
Oh, and then one last thing before we move on to the other 2 episodes. Was Sid. Because like everything else, you know, they basically, so for everyone out there, just to recap this, the first episode that we're talking about, you know, is that they're going to go rescue this kid, which they find out it's a Rancor. You know, Omega gets the little gun They rescue Moochie, and that's it. But then when they get back to Sid, of course, she gives them the money. She tells them that it's Finnick. She's new. She's probably working on a direct commission. But she manages, though, to kind of not befriend them, but take the Bad Batch in, saying, like, you're going to need friends and money.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll offer you in exchange more work, which is you're going to need. Now, look, if we've learned anything from Star Wars, is that most people here trust is only a stone's throw away. It's not, because she says, you guys must be pretty valuable.
Yeah.
But I'm good at keeping secrets. And then from later in these next couple episodes, it's one of those things where you kind of get the feeling that at some point Sid is going to betray the Bad Batch.
Yes, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you could trust her.
No, I couldn't trust her. No.
So, I mean, she's a lizard.
Yet she still judges the lizard that they bring her. The last episode or whatever, I was like, I don't know what they're going to do. Make it a stew? Keep it as a pet? Who knows? It's like,
yeah, which I thought was kind of funny because that line reminded me of Mandalorian, where it's just like, the whole aspect of like the Mando asking Grief Karga, like, oh, do you know what they're going to do with the child? I don't know. He's going to eat it. Who cares? It's money, man. Right. It was that same kind of attitude. Yes, that is the significant part, is that we kind of see Sid being their companion, or at least guide, at the end of that. That's, I guess, the significant kind of moment there. But as far as and it really kind of sets up, I think, what will probably be the motif of the second half of the, I don't know if there's arcs, if they've broken it down into arcs, but if you think of it as the first 4 episodes, they're on the run. The 5th episode starts the Sid storyline. I could see this lasting 4 episodes or more until they have to move on to another. So
have we gotten how many episodes are going to be in season 1?
There's 16. So, and if we learned anything from Clone Wars, they liked to work in like 3-episode arcs or sometimes 4-episode arcs, specifically there at the end. So if we do look at the first, the first one is really kind of a movie, but if we shoehorn that in with the first 4 episodes, it's kind of the formation of the Bad Batch on their own post Clone Wars, them on the run, and then the second is so far it's shaping up to be them being mercenaries, or like, soldiers of fortune, soldiers of fortune, soldiers for hire, guns for hire. I mean, that's kind of their storyline here. I suspect that at some point, either the last third, or we'll move into another quadrant where things have changed. Maybe their relationship with Sid's changed. They bring in another character. Obviously, they've.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing we hear in this very last episode from the what do we call them, the Trash Guild or whatever they're called.
Oh yeah, the very last episode that we watched, Battle Scars. Yeah,
Battle Scars. Like you see them say, like, inform the Empire. So there could easily be some kind of thing to where maybe they trace the ship, back to Sid. And something happens where Sid basically has to give up the Bad Batch.
Right. Kind of a Lando situation.
Right. To stay alive or whatnot. Because but you're right. This could be the perfect time to introduce another character. You could be an Inquisitor. It could just be an elite soldier. Or it could be, once again, Crosshair.
Right. I mean, I kind of felt like they put Crosshair on the back burner. My guess is the next episode, which airs tomorrow. We're recording this on a Thursday. We would get something with Crosshair again. Like they're setting up like, and inquiring minds want to know. I mean, we do still. I kind of thought, okay, and I know we've jumped around these 3 episodes, but the one thing that I kind of really wished that was spoken or said. And we'll probably get to it because they're spreading it out. I want it all at once, and we can't have it that way. But I wanted them to make the conclusion, like, we did this, let's save Crosshair.
I think we will. I think we'll get there because you saw that, especially with Wrecker, and we've seen it also, with the end of Clone Wars too, with Rex double downing on it in this last episode, and Wrecker saying it. That they see it's not only pain; it's painful for them, for the actual clone troopers, that they have no control over their bodies, their own minds, once the chip is activated. And so they have to put 2 and 2 together. That like, here's our friend, here's our brother. Yeah. We have to save him. Of course, all the enhancements they're doing to Crosshair, don't know what the repercussions of that is.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I could even see them setting up a trap. Like, okay, let's get Crosshair here, or like let's try to. I don't know. I just was kind of wanting them to like kind of get to that conclusion of like, hey, now let's go save. Our fallen soldier, basically, and let's get him back. But it could be a couple more episodes till we see that, or until they make that conclusion on their own. But I guess we'll see. I think Battle Scars probably the highest point of these three, just because we do get Rex, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of reading over my notes here for Decommissioned. I think
Decommissioned.
We've kind of already talked about the majority.
Cool. But cool things that we got from this though is them using the droids' heads to like basically like
that was neat. Yeah,
like to see the battle droids once again. Like I thought that was really cool, and it was almost like a zombie battle droid army rising out of the trash heaps. I thought that was a very interesting, I don't know, creative solution or what have you to like creating this drama. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that as part of the action sequence. But having Rex back and then getting that little teaser at the end with Trace and Rafa.
Right. That's what I felt the true purpose of this episode is just to reintroduce Trace and Rafa.
And it seems definitely like there was that kind of action hero moment, or not action hero, but action movie trope where it's just like you got two groups chasing after the same thing, and at first you're kind of enemies, then you become frenemies, and then by the end you're kind of like, you're doing finger guns at each other as you back away, and you're like saying, catch you next time. Yeah. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe they might pop up, if not again.
Oh, they will. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like we said, this is Clone Wars season 8.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
So
except the Clone Wars are over.
Well, the other little bit of Clone Wars that we get is when they do go to the graveyard with Rex. So I know I'm jumping over your plot points here, but like the place that they go to with Rex, they go to basically a graveyard of ships, right?
Ships. I mean, it's just a junkyard.
Yeah, a junkyard. But we see the Jedi cruiser, which is like so. It's like it's rusted. They were the first gens. I think Wrecker makes a joke about that, like just like you, Rex, and we see them. We're seeing that fall. The fall of the Republic. We're seeing like the after effects. Like we've just seen zombie battle droids. Now we're seeing these fallen Jedi cruisers that. So I liked that, and I liked the spatial awareness in Battle Scars. When they're crossing across those ships, they really made that environment feel like it was very, very large, and they were very, very small. And these little shots where like Omega's looking up and seeing like the birds flying, and I liked that as a set, and it felt very open and big and large. Also kind of harkens to the sequel trilogy. I know you don't want to talk about that, but the idea of the scavenger, the ray that's climbing through the ships, it's kind of a cool connection. So
at the beginning of this episode, here's the other little, I felt Easter egg of, is Omega or Omega force sensitive? And the fact that the very first thing you see is, them being chased and fired upon by these three little ships. And you see the cage fall And she says, I've got it written down here, I don't think Ruby likes this very much. And to him, Wrecker kind of looks at her and goes, you named the thing? But like it was one of those moments where it's like, did she name it? Or did she just know its name because it told her?
Yeah, I mean, the way she says the line is definitely like, it didn't feel like a kid, like, oh, I just named it because it's cute. It definitely felt more like, I know this. Kind of like how you said, like how she just walks up to Sid and she's just like, you're Sid. Like it's internal, So perhaps that is part of her power, is to actually like, her power of perception is heightened for sure.
Right.
No, that's a good call. I like that little creature because it looks like
a roly-poly.
Looks like a roly-poly, but the pangolin. Pangolin? Is that how you pronounce it? They're these creatures, the pangolin. Okay. I'll look it up while you keep talking.
I'll take your word for it. Let's see. What else do we got here written here? Because we've already talked about the Mantell mix. Apparently Wrecker and Omega are really putting a big bill on Sid for this this candy / snack or whatever. But it makes sense. I did kind of like, because they're already getting a raw deal by only getting 30% of every job they
30%. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, but then like they have no concept though of money really, because when you think about it, they're clones for one. Oh yeah, I see what you're talking about. But they're clones for one. But then the Republic always provided for them. They always provided the fuel, all their weapons, all their rations. Everything was given to them, and so all of a sudden now they're seeing that they can't just do whatever they want, because that's what it's like when Sid's like, you're lucky to get what I give you considering the debt you owe me. And they're like, debt? What debt? And then she gives them the manifest of everything that's costing her money. And you're like, oh, wow.
But they're also kind of a little bit in this like kind of, sharecropper slavery kind of thing. You're so lucky to have me because I'm taking care of you, but also they're putting their life on the line every time they go out. So, yeah. I also like the comment that Sid makes about Rex, like, oh, there's another one of you.
Right. This isn't going to be a clone bar.
Yeah. That's pretty good. So,
yeah. But of course, now we're getting to like Rex reveals himself. And then here's where we see it once again, which was a nice sequence of events, I felt, in that, you see Wrecker once again rubbing his head once they get back, and then Rex puts two and two together, that they haven't had their chips removed. And you see how quickly things changed where him being really friendly to putting his hand on his gun. Because, if he had to face off against all five of them or four of them, it would have been, Rex probably would have been dead.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. I mean, of course, you kind of go like, Rex, what are you doing? But it makes total sense from his point of view.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, good soldiers follow orders. And I liked as we get to the moment. I won't skip ahead. I'll let you go through your notes here.
Oh no, it's fine. No,
I like that when we do get to that moment where he does turn finally, that they subtly put the conversation about the Jedi happening in the background. So they talk about the Padawan that they, like from the very first episode, they're two of the clones are talking about it. I think it's like either Hunter or and Wrecker overhears this, and that's why he believes them to be traitors, because he's put that together. Because I was like, okay, so what if he turns? Like, none of them are clones. What does it matter?
Right.
But he knows what they've been through, and he's reminded also of the fact that they let the Padawan go. I think it's Hunter talking to Rex that he overhears, and that's the thing that triggers him to be like, "You're traitors," and he
right.
You're
in violation of orders.
You're in violation, yeah, because they. And so I thought that was really smart, because then we know, okay, this, because we wouldn't know if he flipped, why he would be mad at them, except for the fact that this incident occurred. So, I like that we get Rex saying, like, they ask him how he got his
Right.
out. I had help. Yeah.
I thought that was interesting because it most of us go, why don't you just say Ahsoka helped me?
Yeah.
Because they probably have met her at least at one point. But then from his point of view, it also makes sense while their chips are still in their heads.
Yeah, exactly.
For him not to mention it at all.
Right. Yeah. Like, you're not going to mention a Jedi. So, no, it is smart. I like the, you kind of knew something was going to happen with the water,
The second viewing, I just fast forward over it. Like, okay.
Yeah, that part's. But if they ever go back to this environment, because imagine they get Crosshair. Somehow they abduct Crosshair, they get Crosshair, they take him back to this planet because they, think about it. Like, you're out in the will, like, where do you go to get this chip removed? You've gone one place. One place that you can get chips removed, and that's the Jedi Cruiser. So I don't know. Maybe they'll never come back to this place again, and that would be fine by me. But they've established that there's this monster in the water, and they could use that to their advantage.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you're absolutely right, and I could totally see that happening too. Where it's like, okay, like what we said earlier, like they come to the conclusion we have to save our brother, we have to, help Crosshair. What do? It's the only thing they know how to do. So, like, we can get him there, get him trapped with this monster, slay the monster. He's already wiped out just from like exhaustion or whatnot, and then they can stun him, put him in the machine, and then they're good to go.
Yeah, or they're there getting him, and then they, I don't know, other troopers are coming, But do you think the monster was a Dianoga?
That's what I thought it was from the get-go.
Yeah, that's it's got to be a Dianoga, and a much larger Dianoga. Huge. So that was kind of cool, and they really kind of showed off how the Dianoga is like a water sarlacc.
Right.
So, without telling us too much, we have the Dianoga, which is like a water sarlacc. You've got the sarlacc, which is like a ground creature, and then you had the Rathtars. Is that what they are? From Force Awakens, the ones that roll, and they're
right.
Yeah, yeah, the one that you don't want to remember.
Right, I don't remember. Well, because never mind. I'm not gonna get into it.
You're like, I'm not gonna get into that whole thing, but yeah. So Water Dianoga. Basically, the end of this episode got me excited because I'm like, all right, the Emperor's coming, and we're gonna get to see Crosshair because I have missed him. I've always enjoyed his character. Who doesn't like Cobra Stallone or Stallone from Cobra?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, he was one I liked even in the Clone Wars because I always liked snipers. Mm-hmm. I don't know, everybody likes snipers. Yeah. And of course he's the quiet one.
He's the cool one.
He's got the toothpick. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Whereas Hunter is the Rambo.
He's definitely Rambo.
He's got the face, he's got the bandana. Like.
Oh, that's the way. I think who was it? Jack who fell asleep just talking about. I was like, to me, it's basically the Predator Squad. That's basically what they are.
Yeah.
But with more versions. Like you're right. It's like if Rambo was there. You have Arnold Schwarzenegger. You have all those typical 80s characters of like who are going to be. And then like even if you watch the movie Predator, you even have a tech guy on their squad. It's like
yeah, it would they definitely did their homework. Well, in other Star Wars news, do we have anything else to say?
No, I think we covered it.
Did you enjoy them?
Of course. I'm with probably like everybody else. I wish they were a little bit faster paced, and get on with it. But it's like, I'm good. Yeah, I'll take it as I get it. But some Star Wars is better than no Star Wars.
Yes, and I do enjoy this environment. I enjoy like what they're setting up. So, and I'm also hopeful that there's going to be. To have a cartoon or a Star Wars like show that every Friday I'm like, cool. We've talked off air a little bit about Loki, but just the aspect of having another Marvel show. I'm enjoying it more than
I have high hopes for Loki because there's a lot of wiggle room they have with what they want to do with Loki and what they want to do with the bigger picture if they want to tie that in.
Yeah.
because like to me, WandaVision was just okay. I mean, I appreciated it, but I felt it was a lot of drag for a little payoff.
Mm-hmm.
And then Winter Soldier and the Falcon was good. I give it like a good solid 7 out of 10, or maybe 7.5. I mean, it's worth watching, and I liked because I said this, I think probably on the Ramblecast. To me, what was important about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was two things. Is that if you would have automatically made Falcon Captain America just in the next movie, people would have rejected it. Because I think people feel that most characters have to earn a new title. And by having, the other Captain America that people hated automatically, it took that focus off of Falcon to where people could warm up to him being Captain America.
Yeah.
And then with
you have to have that moment. You have to have that moment that where you're like the fist pump, like yes, like where you're just excited to have that. And you make a fair point about that.
Yeah. And then with the Winter Soldier, the way he's, you're introduced to Bucky. It's great in the first Captain America movie. You're introduced to the Winter Soldier, but you don't get any kind of closure by Civil War or anything after that of what has Bucky been going through? Like what?
Right.
And so I felt this was a really good, in the fact that you see that he hasn't had any closure. It's just basically like, this is all I've known, and here I am.
Yeah, the psychological aspects of it, and also getting to know Bucky, because everything that you know of Bucky in the Captain America trilogy is, aside from the first movie, like the latter two, really you're like, I mean, especially the second one, you're really like wanting, to stop Bucky. You hate Bucky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like, so it kind of takes the poison out. So on one hand, you're very apt in describing how it functioned for us, accepting a new Captain America who we want to be there, and then at the same time giving us this emotional resonance with a character that was, needed to almost kind of like, breathe. So
right.
Well, I liked WandaVision because of the mystery behind it, and I liked the quirkiness of it. Mm-hmm. So, and I liked how it dealt with grief and loss.
It did, but
I think they had trouble with the ending.
Yeah, that's like the ending. Well, because to me, like the first 3 or 4 episodes are such a slow build because they wanted to do like this every decade thing.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But then the ending, you're right, it didn't quite land. The only way the ending of WandaVision will land is if they truly, truly make the Scarlet Witch evil. Because, and I don't think a lot of people would warm to that willingly. Because that's what I mean, because like you really see that. Like what she did was awful. Like you enslaved an entire city for your own vanity. Or what do you even call it, grieving, process. And so it's like, there's not really much forgiveness in that, as in a story wise. It's like she did awful things. Mm-hmm. So it's like, where do you go from there?
But emotionally, though, I will say this much: to me, the payoff and like some of the scenes at the end with her and Vision and the children are really haunting, chilling, sad, beautiful, like, and it runs this gambit. So to me, I like to just hold on to those moments that I like just like a song. Sometimes you listen to a song and you're like, I don't like this part. Get to the good part. So
here's the thing where it will really, I think, blow people's minds, is that to me right now with Loki, it resembles a kick-ass version of Time Cop. If you remember that movie, it's because to me, it's like I remember watching this last episode, going like, "Oh, this is kind of like Time Cop," and that like this person's going from different times to get what they want, and then go to another one for some kind of goal. That's totally Time Cop. That's what Scarlet Witch is doing at the end of that series. Is that she is getting that book so to get into the multiverse so she can find her kids, because they exist out there in some version.
Right.
So that's what she's wanting. So you're seeing from Loki that the timekeepers are wanting to keep one solid piece of time. They don't want any branches. Well, what is she doing? She's going through multi versions of branches to find the version that she wants.
Yeah.
So it'll really kick ass if those two collide.
Yeah, no, that's a cool point. Who knew that you're going to get bonus Marvel talk on the Owen and Bruce? I feel like we couldn't have gotten to this level though on RCAD because one of us would have interrupted and made some joke off of what somebody else said.
Oh, no doubt. And then the other one would have been sleeping.
So we made some excellent points there. I like that, and I am enjoying Loki. It also I just finished watching the most recent seasons of Doctor Who, and so there was an aspect of that with the whole time and traveling through time and what have you that really spoke to me. So I was very, very excited about that. So, and surprisingly, my wife is watching it too.
Oh, Doctor Who.
I think it's the Owen Wilson factor. And,
you mean Loki? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Loki. Sorry.
Some part of me, just from 40 years of watching any kind of media, is that I tend to think Owen Wilson is evil because anyone with gray hair is usually evil in any kind of story.
Oh, okay.
And so you're like, he's got gray hair, he's gonna be bad at some point, But you don't know. It could just be.
I always kind of felt like they were on the same page, or there was like you kind of root for them as a buddy team. I was kind of thinking that this is going to be like LA Confidential, where like you're like they're totally at odds with each other, but by the end, you're like, all right, and now this is a buddy cop, and they're gonna go bust some heads together.
Well, that's why the first episode I was kind of standoffish with the first one. I like the second one better, but like it's because at Comic-Con years ago when Lucifer debuted, if you're going to watch a show called Lucifer, I better see the freaking devil and him be awful. I mean, just evil. Mm-hmm. And it was a buddy cop show. And I'm like, wait a minute, the devil's helping the cops? Who is this? And Jack's over going, oh, this is great. I'm like, and so exactly, it's the same thing. Is I don't want to see Loki, the god of mischief, all of a sudden just be like, I'm in a buddy cop show. Like you're like, no.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean he would and as my wife pointed out, like he learns in that second episode.
Oh yeah.
Basically like this is it. If he doesn't follow through, like he'll be disintegrated. Mm-hmm. So what choice does he have? Sorry for any types of spoilers. Warning. Now.
Yeah. It's just 2 episodes.
It's just 2 episodes. I'm sure by the time you hear this, you'll have already watched the third. So
I imagine this episode will be out tomorrow or Saturday or
next
Monday.
week.
Yeah, next week. And it's like, what the heck? They're not even talking about the last episode of A Bad Batch.
Right.
Oh.
Well, we're just a week behind. One other thing I was just going to say, Star Wars related, and Nick and I talked about this off air, but I finally got around to listen to the audio book of Dark Disciple. So it's a book, a Star Wars book that Nick, you've been recommending for a while. So it focuses on Quinlan Voss and Ventress, and it's kind of a buddy cop.
It is a buddy cop, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little buddy cop with kind of like X-Files, where maybe there's a little romance involved.
You believe that book's 6 years old now?
I believe it. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy that it's that old. But I'm enjoying it though. I recently finished the High Republic, and I was kind of wanting more. I know there's another book of the High Republic that's supposed to hit the shelves.
It's late July, I think, or maybe early
Is it late
August.
July or late June?
It's coming up soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that.
So I was, kind of staving off that, like, oh, I want to listen to the next book. I want to find out what's going further.
I mean, because I'm such a huge Ventress fan. I mean, Ventress is my character. I loved Ventress from the first time I ever saw her drawn. It makes me feel cheated. When Lucasfilm sold everything and they canceled Clone Wars, that I did not get to see Ventress end. On. In a cartoon, because I love Ventress. I love Ventress's story and the fact that she is evil, but she's not evil, and
I still, and I don't know how this would cancel out whatever happens in this Dark Disciple book, but it would be really cool to see her again in Bad Batch,
I don't. You could do it, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
I just wish that Filoni, now that he's creative director, could say like, "Oh, here's season 6.5 of
Clone Wars." I mean, they could do like little offshoot stories, and I think that's initially what's Star Wars had or Lucasfilm had in mind when they were doing the anthology series. We're going to have these other movies that can exist in between, or these little offshoots, and I still feel like they could and should do that with different eras. I mean, have an offshoot story about Ventress. Have an offshoot story about Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan before Phantom Menace. Have an offshoot story of Anakin before he's in the trials and before Attack of the Clones. Have some of these other little they could just be standalones. And if the story's tight enough, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be 16 episodes all drawn out. I mean, I think that's the one big criticism that we've had with Bad Batch, but you know what? We also had that same criticism with The Mandalorian season 1, and we know how that turned out. We pretty much came around to enjoying everything that came after because it started playing piano with the first season, all of the nuance. So I'm enjoying Dark Disciple. I'll kind of let you know, I guess, I'm probably like the first 7 chapters in. 8 chapters. So, yeah. I'm a ways in, but, things are developing.
Did you see the Zoom call or whatever between Ewan McGregor and Pedro?
No.
Yeah, it's just a small clip, but most of it is Ewan McGregor talking, and because they're kind of just both of them talking about their Star Wars experience, and he's like, I can't do his his Scottish accent, but like he's over there like, I'm filming and I realized that like this is the first time I've actually been around stormtroopers, it's like because I've only been around clone troopers, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool, it's like, and then like the little kid part to me comes back around. I'm seeing them all walk around like, oh my god, stormtroopers,
yeah,
and of course, a lot of stuff he had to deal with was green and blue screens, so
right, and there's a lot more real world stuff that they're bringing in, so.
And then Pedro doesn't say too much, but he does let it slip that that Mandalorian season 3 has not started filming yet,
right?
Which was expected because they did say that the Book of Boba Fett was going to be first, and then Mandalorian season 3. So I mean, I would not expect to get Mandalorian season 3 until earliest February of 2022. But
yeah, that seems probably about right. So. Well, I don't want to make this episode any longer than what it is because we never stopped for a commercial break, and at this point, we've probably talked more about these episodes than we should have, and more so. You got that Marvel talk in there.
That's right.
At this point, I'd like to thank the patrons that make this show possible. But before I do that, go over to iTunes, give us a rate and review for this show. We would really appreciate it. You can also just go over to jandjack.com. Become a patron member, or check out the merch that is there. We have some merchandise for Owen and Baru's barbecue. Really appreciate anything that you do to help us out. Send us an email at theforceiswelldone@gmail.com. And at this point, I'll mention those patrons that make this show possible. They are all Bad Batch themed, so see how these might fit in. First, we got Tactical Tac Droid.
Very valuable.
Very valuable in a pinch. Eckhart Trace and Richter Rafa. Ed DeJarek, the game.
Oh, okay.
Ed DeJarek. So, I was reaching. But DeJarek is seen in one of these episodes, so there you go. It's the hologram game for those playing at home. Ord Mantell Maggie.
That's
not to be confused with Ord Mantell City Maggie.
No.
I think it's funny that there's a planet Ord Mantell, but then there's this. It's like if Earth had a city, we called it Earth City.
Earth City and then Earth.
Yeah.
It's like, always cracks me up. But like when bands do that, it's like, I want to hear the song "Bad Company" by the band Bad Company off the album Bad Company. And you're like,
yeah. It's like super redundant.
Yeah.
R7, Joanne 7, and Zygerian Greg. Thanks for doing what you do. This was a great show. It's 1 in a million. Thanks for joining me, Nick. I could not do the show without you.
Thanks, Matt.
All right. We'll see you next time.